Hi all, welcome back to Vivid Land with me Martin, hope you're all doing well, and today's quick guide is a quick guide to street photography. So street photography is not something I do a great deal of, but obviously I've seen a great deal of it and I've been involved in photography for quite a while, so I think I've got a reasonable perception of what street photography is all about. I've done a bit, I do a little bit for fun, a little bit for my own enjoyment, and I've had a couple of images over the years which have actually fared quite well from a, let's call it a street photography perspective. But I think as far as the quick guide goes, these are what follows are probably my best advice as far as street photography is concerned. And the first one is really quite clear. And it's something, a little saying that I came up with, well, I think I came up with it, I don't recall hearing it anywhere else. And that is that street photography is not just photographs of people in the street. Now I hope that makes sense, because what I do notice about a lot of street photography that I see out there is, and maybe it's just part of the progression into getting better, but people just tend to walk around and take photographs of everyday people doing everyday things in the street, and they pass it off as street photography. But if we're really brutal with ourselves, a lot of it is really quite mundane. It's somebody walking down the road with a couple of shopping bags, or people passing each other in the street in a similar way. And obviously photographs of homeless or tramps or bums, as they're often called, is also very, very popular. I've done some of that myself. But when you actually think about it and look at those images, I think a street photograph has to be much more than that. I think a street photograph has to be documentary to an extent in its content. It has to have some story, it has to have some characters in it. It has to make you want to reflect on the image and really want to know perhaps something more about what's going on. And I think you have to spend a lot more time walking around looking for that sort of thing. And it's such a blurred genre as well. I mean, you've got some stuff which are like street portraits, or maybe that's a slightly separate genre, because again, yeah, you've got character in there and there may be story in their face, but there's no bigger surrounding, there's no bigger environment to really draw anything else from. So if I was approaching street photography tomorrow and I'm starting fresh, which is what all my quick guides are about really, it's about if you're just starting out in some way or you're just going to give it a go, then I would really try and concentrate on doing a bit of storytelling, get the environment in the shot, so maybe shoot a little wider, get characters in it, try and pick out things which are unusual or have got certain geometry in them, and you know, the play of light is also very important. I also see quite a lot of street photography these days which seem to be centered around light and shadow. You probably know what the things I'm talking about, where people camp out with their camera and they find a particular, usually at a lower sun, and there'll be nice angular shadow and light play, and maybe they wait for somebody to walk through it. They do look very, very interesting and they're very aesthetically pleasing. But again, there's a blurred line. Is that storytelling street photography? Or, you know, that's boarding street stroke architectural stroke. It's difficult, isn't it? It's really tough. So really think about that. Go and research, understand what street photography really is in its purest sense. You know, like Cartier-Bresson used to do, or Cartez. You know, real storytelling within those images, and they do ask you to come back to them again and again and look at them. That's all I'll really say as far as that's concerned, I think, because there's not much you can say. You just have to go out there, you have to be there, and you have to look and look and look and wait and be patient. Sometimes set yourself up, as I just said, camp out and wait for something to happen in front of you, or move around, jump into certain situations. You just got to be very, very aware and alert, and try and capture the images which are more interesting and more special than just general people in the street or somebody having fun or drinking tea outside a coffee shop. That isn't interesting necessarily, and it won't necessarily benefit you as you grow in street photography. I think you need to be looking for something a bit different, something a bit more unusual than that. Film is a good way to go with street photography because you're limited with the amount of shots, of course, or you could limit yourself digitally, I suppose. And I think that you would be a little bit more conscious about how many frames you take and getting the good frames, the right stuff, you know, being a bit more selective, or much more selective about what you actually take photographs of. And just a little tip, I don't normally bring kit into these sort of things, but for my street photography I use two very, very small cameras. They're both Ricoh. This one on the right is a GR10, which is a film point and push camera. Little brother, little sister, whatever you want to call it, the GR1, which is a very well-known street film camera. It's 35mm, so it's full frame. Just remember that, okay? And it's got autofocus, so it's just a brilliant little camera. And as I said, it's the GR1, which is its bigger sister, has got more features and has better build quality again. So the idea is the discretion. They're very small, they're not quite silent, but they're very quiet, fit perfectly in a pocket. That, yes, that is a 35mm film camera, believe it or not. And they take wonderful photos because it's got a cracking 28mm super sharp lens. So that's a recommendation, or a camera like it. Okay, turn it around the right way. And for digital, I've got its digital equivalent, if you like, which is not the latest version of it, which is the GR1, which is a GR digital. But as you can see, very, very similar in form factor, very, very similar in size. They both use, I believe, a 28mm lens. But obviously this is technically full frame because it's film, and this one is, the later version is APS-C, but I don't think that one's this size of sensor. I think that's about 10 megapixels, but it's still more than enough for street photographs and capturing, you know, what's going on in and around. So yeah, my advice would be to have small cameras like that and get out there and do it. So to recap, remember, street photography is more than just photographs of people in the street. You're looking to do some documentary or some storytelling, or give us some kind of understanding of what might be going on, or give us some intriguing imagery to look at, to start thinking about, so that we're pulled into it rather than just go, yeah, okay, there's people in the street. Number two, thinking about your equipment. Okay, use small and discreet, it would be my recommendation, so that you don't really get noticed and people are less offended or maybe even bothered by, you know, you getting in front of them and then raising your eye. Wide angle lenses in your kit are also good because you can point it slightly away but be shooting here, so on and so forth. So again, you won't draw too much attention to yourself. And finally, of course, just get out there and do it. It's just one of those things, you've got to put the legwork in. Go out there and shoot and shoot and shoot. And you'll probably get a lot of duds before you get some good ones, but really think about that. And I like the camping out idea. I do like those images. And yeah, maybe that'd be something for you to have a crack at as well. So that's it, my quick guide to street photography. Nice and simple, there's not a lot to that one. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, speak soon. Take care from the Vivid Land and Martin. Bye-bye.